Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sasha and today I want to talk about my favorite books of 2020. Now, in 2020, let's see how many books I read. 65. I read 65 books in 2020. That's pretty good considering uni, newborn, 2020 in general. I've got 11 books today here for you, so let's just get into them. Now, the recurring theme in this list is I don't own them. I only have one physical copy, and that's it. The rest I either borrowed from the library or I read it on Kindle. And I don't know if, like, I'm glad I read them. Obviously, they're my favorite books, but I really should start reading those shelves. But anyway, so let's just get into it. First of all, actually, out of the 11 books, one was fantasy, one was paranormal, one was non-fiction, 4 romance and 4 contemporary books, 5 adult books, 1 middle grade and 4 young adult books. I'm not quite sure what to call the non-fiction, so with the authors, 1 was Latinx, 1 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander, 4 black and 4 white authors. So I think I did really well diversely this year, which is one of my goals, was basically to read more diversely and definitely just pick up more from black authors, and I'm glad I did because it became my favorites this year. And yeah, okay, so I'll start off with a book I actually own, and that was House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. This is the first book in her Crescent City series, which is a new series featuring Bryce Quinlan, who is a half human, half fae female. Now, Bryce, she was a partier, she was just living her life with her best friend, but then something happened and her best friend died, and so Bryce basically is just now in this not really depressive state, but she's just like, she's feeling a bit guilty. Anyway, the murders start up again at how her best friend died, and the murderer who was convicted for Danica's death has been released from prison. So Bryce is now teaming up with Hunt, who is like a fallen angel, and they're trying to figure out who the murderer is, and trying to figure out all these murders. And it was such a good time. I really love this book. Obviously it's Sarah J. Maas, but it's really quite different to like Throne of Glass and Court of Thorns and Roses. Not different, there's like so much pining and yearning and angst in this book. There is no sex, there's almost sex, but I think she was really like, oh, you guys complain about the sex, fine, I won't give you any. And now look at us, we're dying over here. So I cannot wait to pick up the second one in this series and just find out more about Bryce and Hunt. And I'm not okay with Hunt and Bryce's relationship, but it's Sarah J. Maas. She never stays with the first love interest, so I do not think that Hunt is going to stick around for long. Well, he will, but not as Bryce's lover. For me, I'm kind of hoping for the merman comeback, because he was, yes. Anyway, these are in no particular order either. I just wanted to talk about that one, so I stopped picking up books. So the next book I want to talk about is Born Darkly by Trisha Wolfe. This is a romance. I'm gonna say it's like psychological romance, kind of. Anyway, so it's about this psychologist, London, who has been told she has to take in this serial killer, Grayson, as one of her patients, and just to figure out basically to try and get him convicted as like crazy, like so that his sentence is shorter, I think. I think that's, I read it at the start of the year. But this book is just mind-blowing. So it's kind of like Harley Quinn Joker romance, which I hate because I hate the Joker and what he does to my girl Harley. Grayson, he only kills people who did not get convicted for crimes that they had done. Do you know what I mean? So he's like a vigilante, kind of. Him and London's relationship and just this whole book, it was just mind-blowing, and I still need to read the second one, but I really enjoyed it, and I couldn't stop thinking about it for days, and it was just chef's kiss. That's what it was. Next one. Okay, this is probably, okay, I know I said I didn't have an order, but Learn My Lesson by Katie Robert. This book, oh my god. So it is the second in Katie Robert's Wicked Villains series, and it's like a companion novel. You don't have to read them all. I did not read them in order. I read the second one first, and it was okay. So this is a book about Meg, Hades and Hercules, you know, from Hercules, but in this like sex club, and like Hades and Meg own this sex club, and Hades and Meg have this like, they're like on the same level, but when they're in their sex club, Meg is the sub, but then they bring Hercules into the fold, and it's like this MMF. Oh, so good. And it just opened my eyes to what romance novels could be, and I love it. I love it so much, and I cannot wait to read the rest of this series. I read Desperate Measures. It just didn't quite get up to the hype of, I think, because 3 is a party. Next book on this list is A Lesson in Thorns by Sierra Simone. Now, if you've read this book, you know the turmoil I went through reading this book. It was just, the writing is beautiful, the characters are all quite complex, and they all just kind of, so it starts off with Persephone, I believe her name is right now. Persephone, she takes this job as a librarian back at Thorn Chapel, which she used to go like on holidays to when she was a kid, and with like these 5 other kids, and when she comes back, the other people are there too, and they're all trying to like relearn each other and just figure out their relationships, and so much angst in this book. Oh my god, I loved it. And you're just like, oh, and like, oh, so good. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Cannot wait to read the next one, even though I heard there's a little bit of taboo in there. But my favorite character in that book was probably Daphne. She was fucking babe, and I cannot wait to read, I think it's the 3rd or the 4th book where it's based on her. And yeah, okay, so yeah. All right, next book on this list is Dear Martin by Nick Stone. This one, I friggin' cried my eyes out. Like, I don't know, like I read the back of the book before I read it, but that middle of the book just hit me out of nowhere like a truck, and I was just bawling and bawling. And so this is about oh my goodness, I've forgotten his name. So this is about Justice, he's just helping his ex-girlfriend try and get home when the cops just pick him up, put him in handcuffs in front of the ex-girlfriend because he is black and the girlfriend is white. So even though he's like the top of his class at an Ivy League school, he still just cannot get away from cops being a dick to him because he's black. And it's just, he starts this project for himself, where he writes letters to Martin Luther King Jr. after that debacle. And it was such a good book. Like, I know people compare it to The Hate U Give, but it's on a whole nother level. And it's not the only Nick Stone book on this list. Okay, this is probably my top favorite book of the year. Nick Stone, Jackpot. Ugh, I friggin' love Jackpot. I cannot wait to get my own copy of this book. But it was just so much fun. So Jackpot is about this girl called Rico, who's 17 or 16, and she works at a servo, basically like a 7-Eleven. And I don't know if 7-Elevens are servos in America. Anyway, service station. Servo. Anyway, so she works at the servo, and she sells this lottery ticket, and a couple days later we find out that one of the lottery tickets that she sold could be like the winning lottery ticket, and she thinks it was the ticket she sold to this little old lady who was like quite forgetful. And so she goes on this adventure to try and find this old lady to get her to claim this winning lottery ticket. And okay, so Rico is looking after her little brother because her mother is like a gambling addict. So they're not living the best life, but they still try. The mum still tries to get them through to this best school. So basically, whenever Rico's not at school, she's working, and she sells two or three lottery tickets at night. One to the little old lady, and one to this guy that she goes to school with, Zan. Now she enlists the help of Zan to find this little old lady, because Zan actually came in after her, and she wanted him to find out if he knew like the taxi she went into. And it was just like this journey adventure with Zan and with Zan's two other friends, and Rico just starts to kind of like let loose and learn that she's a teenager. She's allowed to live her life and have fun, and she like starts getting into this little friend group, and even she starts kind of have this little cute like little romance with Sam. Like the whole time she's like, no one notices me, I'm so invisible because I like don't do anything, but like Zan's like, I've always noticed you. And I'm just like, no, I love these two so much. The ending is not what you expect it would be, like kind of like in romance wise, it's not what you expect, but it's still so good. I loved it a lot, and I love this cover too, like the yellow and the red, and just I love Rico, I love Zan, and I love this book. The next book on this list is another romance, and that is Go Deep by Rilsey Adams. Whew, okay, so this book is sexy. Like, it is sexy. Like, I'm pretty sure this is the book that put me into labor, because 2 days later I'm having the kid, I'm having Feyre has popped out, and it was just... So this book is about Nevaeh, and she is a romance author, but she's just not at the top of her game anymore. She's getting bad reviews, and it's because she's not even having sex herself, so how can she write a book about sex? So she enlists the help of her best friend Xander to try to get her mojo back, and it's a friends to lovers, and it's got a scene. Okay, it's got this one scene where they're going out to a restaurant, and Nevaeh's wearing this underwear, and Xander's got the remote, and oh, it's just so good. Oh, anyway, this such a good book. I really enjoyed it. Rilsey Adams, she's just top tier romance author. And then we've got Let Me Hear a Rhyme by Tiffany D. Jackson. So this book, it just made it, I choked on my emotions with this book. Okay, this was based in 1998 Brooklyn. So I listened to this book on audio, and so it's about this boy Steph who has been murdered, and his two besties Cordia and Jarrell, they don't want his music to die because he was such a good musician, but he just died too young. Jasmine, who is Steph's younger sister, is also into music and is wanting to help Cordia and Jarrell get Steph's voice out there because he had lots to say. And it's kind of like a murder mystery cross like Step Up, you know, like a singing version of Step Up. I can't think of anything right now, but it was really, really good, and I really, really love this book. I love the relationships between them all, and like you even hear like Steph's voice kind of. There's like little bits of flashbacks, and just I love Jasmine. And there's this one scene in the book where Jasmine is hanging out with one of the boys' girlfriends or ex-girlfriends, and Jasmine's all like, oh, like girls shouldn't be shaking their ass in music videos, like they should be using their voice for like power and shouldn't stop like making us what men want us to be. And then these girls are like, how do you know that they're doing that because men want them to? Like, what if they're doing it because they want to? And it was such a good conversation where like girls can sexualize themselves, but it could be for themselves, and it was just very powerful, and I really, really love that scene. And yes, I want all of these books as hard copies because I do not have them, and I want them, and I want to like hold them up and be like, this is my favorite book, guys. Next book was You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. Oh, this book. So this is a YA contemporary. It is queer, it is black girl magic, and it was so good. So we've got little old Liz Lightly, who wants to go to this school, but she can't afford it. But she finds out that if you become prom queen, you can get a sponsorship to go to school. I can't remember what it's called. Scholarship. Liz runs for prom queen basically with help of her two besties, and also Liz falls in love with one of the other contestants who is also a girl and also running for prom queen, and it was so good. Oh my god. Liz and this other girl, like, they just have a connection, okay? And they like bond over like indie bands, just trying to fight against the system because this school is like so old school. Like, you must go with a guy, you cannot go with a girl, and you can't do this and you can't do that, blah blah blah. I loved how it was like trying to talk this big talk, but also like she's a teenager, she just wants to live her life sort of thing. Like, this book, I love it had a mix of both. Like, it had so it had Black Lives Matter like running through with it and the talk of social justice, but it was also just like this black girl just living her life, and I love that. Like, I love reading about books where it's just black people living their lives. Like, go deep. And like, jackpot. Oh, Jackpot's so good. And then I read the cutest little middle grade, and that was Ghost Squad by Clarabelle A. Ortega, and oh, this is so cute. Oh, so I listened to this book as well, and it is about this girl who she lives with her dad in this house where like it's been passed down through generations, and there's this big old tree in the back, and there's all these fireflies that are like stuck to the trees. But, well, that was quite rude, cutting me off. So for this girl Lucely, these fireflies are not just fireflies, these are her ancestors, and she can see them as ghosts, and it was so good. Oh my gosh. Something starts happening to these ghosts. They're all starting to become sick and not coming back as ghosts sort of thing, and so she's trying to figure out what's happening to these ghosts. But also her dad runs a ghost tour, and it's not going so well. Like, the real estate is trying to kick them out of the house too, so they're trying to like save the house as well. And so we also have Lucely's best friend Sid, who has a grandma who's a witch, and Babette was just so cool. I loved Babette. And then they've got this really chubby cat, and it was just lots of good shenanigans. And it just made me love like middle grade. Like, I went onto a little middle grade binge after this, but it was my favorite middle grade of the year, and it was so good. I really loved it. And then the last book of the year that I really enjoyed was My Titter, My Sister by Marley Silver. This is a Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander non-fiction like memoir. It's got all these stories, not like stories like no, is like real life people stories, and how like growing black in Australia like affected them, all the way from like back in rabbit proof fence days to, hang on, I'm very bad with my history. Back in the day when when people were trying to breed out the black in Australia, like, we are a racist country, and like the stolen generation, that's what I was trying to figure out. Yeah, back in the day when the stolen generation, and then like today's day, and it was just all these like stories about women and how they just want to be a voice in this country, like black women, black Aboriginal women and Torres Strait Island women just wanting to be a voice and wanting their voices to be heard. And it was like, I found so many new people to follow on Instagram, and I really enjoyed their stories, and I cannot wait to just watch these people grow, because we had teenagers growing like in this book. So I cannot wait to see how far they go. Like, they have shot for the stars, and I cannot wait to see just them just bloom, and I'm just so excited. And this book just like is really good, okay? And I really suggest everyone to read it. I borrowed it from the library, so but I really should get my own copy. It was just like just learning about the mob, and just like, I'm very, like I said before, I do not know my Australian history. I only know bits and pieces, but this book made me learn and how racist we are as a country, and it was disgusting, but I'm glad I know now, so that I can better myself and to make sure my kids grow up knowing what is right and what is wrong, and that they can try to do better as well. Those were my top 11 books for 2020. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you had any favorite books, let me know down below. What was your top favorite book? Mine was Jackpot by Nick Stone and Learn My Lesson by Katie Robert, but I can't have two. Do you have two? Let me know if you got two favorite books 2020. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you want to see more by me, and I will see you next time. Bye.